Well, hello there, traveler. I wasn't expecting to find anyone else here in Old Mondstadt. Even now, after Dvalin has been healed, the memory of vicious storms is too fresh for any adventurers to venture out this way. Apart from you, it seems. Is that so? How poetic, then, that you would come here. This is the most stagnant valley in all of Mondstadt, after all. To come to Decarabian's tower after feeling overwhelmed by change, seeking a moment's peace from the chaos of the world. Perhaps irony is a better term. Well, you can't blame me for seeking out a high perch, can you? The higher you are, the better the wind feels on your skin. You mean the usual place? True, the statue is higher, but a certain gloomy sister has taken notice of me sitting there as of late, which is quite a deterrent to self-reflective musings. No, you could never be a bother, my brave warrior. Mondstadt will always be open to you whenever you need a home. You're more than welcome to rest your weary legs and soul on this tower, or your head on my shoulder. I am here. I understand that. Even here, the winds bring ever more change. They always have, despite the old king's desires. Even I can feel exhausted by it, you know? Wind in the sails of a glider can lift you up and carry you safely to solid ground, but the gales of a storm can be so powerful they cleave mountains and flatten the earth. I've seen it firsthand. There was a time once when I too wanted everything to stay still and stagnant. Surprised? Try to imagine it with me, dear traveler. How it feels to be a little wind spray caught up in the swirl of a tornado. When your body moves so fast across the land, you can hardly take in any of your surroundings. Changing direction at a moment's notice, battering against stone and cliff and sea, ripping through treetops. Wind and change are both overwhelming, often leaving the smallest among us far from where we started, sometimes without any route back. That's enough to make one crave silence and stillness, to wish for nothing to ever change again. Traveler, may I make a confession? Sitting here in the open tomb of the old city, sometimes I still have that wish. I wish that things hadn't changed. No, perhaps that is not the way to phrase it. Allow me to rewrite. The cold, dark wish within my ancient breast is not for stagnation, but rather control. I wish things had changed differently. That I had been given the chance to choose the direction the windbloom seeds scattered about. I wish I was faster. I wish I hadn't left the city at all. I wish I could decide who lived and who died. But therein lies the rub. Fixating too much on reverting tragedies leads us down a slippery slope, as history has shown time and time again. We cling to the spirits of lost loved ones, trapping them in a cage of our heart. Look at the great adventurer, Stanley. Look at the recent disaster in the land of eternity. Look at this lair around us. Even the land of wind and freedom has its own history with forced permanence. You see, once, long ago, this tower was the seat of power for a god king who controlled the winds. If you hear the stories told in the cathedral today, he will be called a tyrant. He was, in some ways. Oh yes, I knew him. Of him, at least. More so, maybe. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. I was there to see his reign. I saw what the history books, the songs, and the doctrines forgot. I saw how much he loved his people. I felt it. King Decarabian did not barricade his people inside the city to intimidate or threaten them. Back then, Mondstadt wasn't the cozy and idyllic place to live it is today. It was a wasteland of ice and frost, overwhelmed by Andrias' power. Decarabian wanted to protect the people from that danger, and it was much easier to gather them up in one place and surround that city with impenetrable walls of storm. Thus, the cage was not meant to keep the birds inside, but to keep the cats out. King Decarabian loved his people. He took a mortal lover, and up until the revolution that would be his end, he thought they loved him back. One of the first great tragedies I ever witnessed was when that lover of his joined among the rebellious ranks and helped slay the king who cherished them. Yes, I have shared this story before. I have borne witness to many of Mondstadt's defining moments, but its origins, my origins, this story weighs heavy on my heart. My point in sharing this story with you today is a word of caution. Regrets, fears, and anxieties can all lead us to try and control the world, to stop the flow of time and resist change, because change brings the unknown. But no one, not man or God, can stop time. To try and control the world is to limit everyone in it. No matter your intentions, inflicting your desires onto others is an act of imprisonment. Even if you try to only control your own fate without interfering with anyone else's, you'll just be imprisoning yourself. Conversations like these are always quite dour. Would you care for a drink to lessen the blow? Go ahead. I think between you and me, we've both suffered enough from the ridiculous assumptions mortals make about our age. 'Tis an unfair punishment for those challenged vertically, is it not? My power? Well, yes, I did inherit the power of the winds, though I was already a being of air beforehand. Perhaps that is why Decarabian spirits sought mine out, when so many other suitable vessels were gathered at his fall. No god is ever truly vanquished. We are beings of nature, of elements, of philosophies. Does a dream die when you awaken? No. It lingers in your mind, even when you've completely forgotten the details. That sense of dread or joy still hovers in your stomach. So it is that we gods linger too. Some like a carving left by generations past. Some like a foul odor or an unsettling stain in a back alley. I believe you are familiar with a certain vigilant yaksha, correct? Being the well-traveled bard that I am, I know all the legends of all the lands. Certainly more than any living soul, at least. His fight proves that gods decompose in half-lives, never wholes. Though long since defeated and left to rot beneath the great stone pillars, the ancient combative gods of Liyue still linger. A miasma of hate, jealousy, mindless now. Only the sour feelings of stomachs, without the details of the dreams. It's different in every nation. Some lands absorbed the sentiments of fallen deities. Some gods consumed the power of their opposition. In Mondstadt, Decarabian was absorbed into his own power. And that power into me. Yes, I know him well. So well that I know he thought, until the bitter end, that he had done right by his people. That is why I leave the governing of Mondstadt to its people. Freedom demanded of one by a god is no freedom at all. It's a forced smile, uncomfortable where it stretches the skin and strains the cheeks. I will remain Mondstadt's caretaker in only the most organic sense. Its gardener when seeds need sowing. Its rebellion when tyranny arises. But I will not be its leader. That I leave in the capable hands of mankind. Your destiny is your own, dear traveler. Though you cannot control the direction of the wind or the endless march of time, you can choose when to step with the breeze and when to shelter from the storm. You choose how to react to the world as it changes around you. You angle the glider and chart the direction you will grow and adapt. You don't need to control the world. You need only steer your own journey through